military, man. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. I apologize that I'm your host tonight, Deleon Kun, here to be your steward of all things Purdue sports tonight for BXP. I am unfortunately joined with Russ, who is awake for this, and we thank him for his sacrifices. The nursing home goes lights out about 9, but they make an acceptance for him. And then we got the biggest brain in the game today, the stat tank himself, Mr. Frank. Boys, how we doing?
It's a great night, Dylan. Great night.
Yeah, no, I'll say this as a PSA. If you have somebody in your life that works in education, this week, please text them and ask them how they are. We're not okay. I'll tell you that much. It's been a heck of a week, but I'm happy to be here with the boys and talk to some adults for once. So with that being said, we had some big news out of the football program today. Hey, we finally got an offensive coordinator. There was even a recruit. I mean, things are pumping. Odom's really starting to hit the wheels here and hit the ground running. How are we feeling about it, fellas?
You mean he's actually trying to put together a football roster?
Yeah,
I thought he was just watching basketball games and walking around campus.
It turns out he's actually doing his job. That's a shocker. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
How dare he watch one basketball?
So we are going to have a football team this fall. Okay.
I guess so.
It is amazing how showing him on the TV during the basketball game just stirred up so many emotions from so many people. He should be out working. I mean, one could argue that's a pretty important thing for him to do.
Yeah,
to
he gets on TV, get a little, FaceTime on the camera. The fact people were mad about that is beyond me. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, people are always going to be mad about something, but that was interesting. But yes, for anyone who doesn't know Josh Henson, right? Josh Henson is who we hired. Russ, how you feeling about Josh Henson out of USC?
Pretty good. We were talking about in the chat that the USC offense looked pretty exciting this year. They obviously, in our one of our common opponents, I'm sure we had more than that, being in the Big Ten, but against Notre Dame, they actually kind of had them down to the wire-ish, and then they threw 2 pick sixes late to lose that game to Notre Dame. But Miller Moss was definitely, doing his thing early in the season. Now, there was obviously a controversy. He got pulled later in the year, kind of threw off their offense a little bit, but their offense was definitely, much better than what Purdue's was. I think you were talking about their top 10, top 15-ish on a lot of their output. So I think it's a good pickup for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at a 6-6 team and say, it's just that it's a 6-6 team. But when you look at their schedule, I mean, it's tough, and they had a lot of close losses, right? They did beat LSU, 3-point loss at Michigan, hard place to win. Still put up 24 points. Put up 38 on Wisconsin in a win. Had a close loss to Minnesota, 3-point loss to Penn State, 1-point loss to Maryland. I mean, this is a team that easily could be 9-3. I mean, honestly, when you look at their schedule and you look at their record. So, yeah, I mean, 35-49 loss to Notre Dame. Again, you said they had the 2 picks late, but according to PFF, they are running the ball 11th in the country this season. USC is, and they're 24th in the pass. Don't know where Purdue ranks in either of those.
Not great. I can tell you that much.
Well, Purdue's actually decent.
We're decent at running the ball.
We're decent at running the ball. Yeah. We're 93rd in running the ball. So
hey, not
decent.
100.
Decent, yeah. Not last.
Not last. Hey.
I think a lot of it had to do with a lack of an offensive line, but the reaction from the USC fans seems to be they seem to be happy. If I had to, they seem to be elated at the fact that Josh Henson is leaving. But it's a guy that Coach Odom has a lot of experience with. They were at Missouri together. He wasn't hired as the offensive coordinator when Coach Odom took over at Missouri, which I think is interesting. Because at one point in time, he said, "You're not good enough to be my offensive coordinator," and sent him on his way. And now he's going to be the offensive coordinator. But obviously Coach Odom is going to hire a guy who he has a lot of faith in, but I'm. It seems like the fan base is kind of torn, but I'm happy. Anything is a step in the right direction. Dylan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we have life. I mean, Odom's not just going to basketball games and not doing his job, which is wild accusations by the fan base. But yeah, it's good to see a little bit of life. It's good to see things are moving. Um, the most interesting thing and the most insane thing to follow is the portal. I mean, it's almost impossible to follow such a disastrous, and like, I'm not against dudes transferring, but like the way it goes down is unbelievable. So it'll be interesting to see who he brings in via the portal. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see things are moving and grooving, and hopefully he's getting into a groove of things. And I mean, it's a quick turnaround. You got to be quick. You can't take forever to make a hire in any position. And then he retained the running backs coach. Was that correct?
Yeah, just today it
Mhm.
was announced that the running backs coach is staying, which is huge news. Which I think just pretty much in my mind solidifies that Devin Mockbee's not going
Yeah.
anywhere. I never seriously
Well,
thought that he would, but it's just nice to have that
In this
extra
day
bit
and
of
age, you never
confirmation.
know.
You never
Like
know.
Thieneman, I was kind of surprised that Dylan Thieneman left. But I mean, there's been talk on Twitter about taking down his All-American banner and all that, but I don't know, man. The guy's coming off 111 a season, has a genuine chance to be a great player in the league. So I think he's setting himself up for success later down the road. Not saying he couldn't have done that at Purdue, but I'm saying the springboard's a little tighter at Oregon. I as of right now, for like right now, I believe he made a good decision for him. Would I love for him to be at Purdue? Absolutely. Do I blame him and say screw that guy for going to Oregon? Not one bit. And there's other people that think otherwise, but and that's fine. But I don't blame the kid for leaving. I think he made a decision that's best for him. And unfortunately, college football now, and whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, is a business, and it's kids are thinking about their future and making millions and not really where they want to play. That's kind of where the money is sometimes. So it's a different beast, college sports.
yeah, and he might be part of like the 5% to 10% that the portal actually works for, right? A guy that's a star player. He was a freshman All-American. He's going to come in and he's going to get minutes, possibly go right to a starting job. But what I don't get is you've got now over 1,600 FBS scholarship athletes in the football portal, and it's insane because you also have how many? What would you say? 1,200 to 1,400 freshmen coming in.
A lot.
Mhm.
So especially at these positions like quarterback, when you're talking about a guy that's a second or third string quarterback wanting to go to the transfer portal because they didn't get minutes this year. Okay, so you're going to go to another team that maybe they've got a guy that he was also the second or third string that's sticking around. Hopefully, hoping he can take over the job, and then they bring in one or two freshmen that maybe they hope that they can compete for the starting job. So basically, you just jump from one room where you might have actually been in line to start had you stuck around to now you're going to have to beat out 3 or 4 other guys, and hopefully they prioritize you over the freshman they brought in or over the guy that's been in the program for 2 years. Like, you really think that's going to work out? So I don't know. I don't feel sorry for people that have issues with the portal. I don't feel sorry for people like that. The Penn State quarterback, that story keeps coming up, the backup quarterback for Penn State, that he's frustrated because the portal window is going to close during the CFP, during the college football playoff, and so he has to basically forego playing in the playoff to enter the transfer portal. And it's like, oh, okay, boo hoo. Like, you if you want to reap the benefits of being a part of a roster that makes the playoff, then stick around with the team you committed to. If you're saying screw them, I'm done with you, then go find another school and don't whine about missing out on the playoff.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the word
You can't have your
commitment.
cake and eat it too.
The word commitment in college sports doesn't mean anything anymore.
Jack. Yeah.
It doesn't mean a thing, and that's sad. Like I think, and these. I mean, we got to remember these are 18 to 20 some year olds. Like, they're young, and I hate to sound like a boomer, but like when you put kids in situations where they don't do well right away, and instead of trying to stick it out and make it work, they can just jump ship and go somewhere else. Now, like if I'm Dylan Thieneman and I go to Oregon and I see their facilities and I see all their shiny, cool things, it's pretty cool over there. I don't know if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of the Oregon facilities, but ain't bad. It ain't too bad. And so I don't blame them, but that's me personally.
But what's the only thing that's kind of a catch about that is there's thousands of football players that visit there every year that think the same thing. So I'm gonna look up while we're on here, and I'll come back with you. But I'd be interested to see because they're bringing in 5 stars and 4 stars every year, right? They've always got a top 5 class, and they're going to get a ton of top level transfers. So I'd hate to see Thieneman go out there and then be a second or third string safety.
Yeah, that would stink. I know.
He could have gone down as the greatest safety of all time in Purdue. I know he had one bad year, but he comes back this year in an offense and a defense that is going to supposedly be built more around the skill that we have instead of putting guys in different positions. He could have stayed and been, had a statue built for him. Well, now he might we're going to be an afterthought.
I talked to Vinny about it, and Vinny was like, he'll be a linebacker by the end of the year. So like, there's a bunch of different takes that are out there, but I don't know. Obviously Thieneman's a stud, and you see what he was working with last season, and it's hard telling what'll happen behind the scenes and what could have happened to have him make this decision. But I'm still in the boat. Like, even though guys are making money, and I think the same thing in the NFL for the most part, like going on socials and like giving like grief to players, especially when you get into the SEC world and they throw around death threats like it's no big deal. Not saying anybody did that with Thieneman, but like you've seen it before. Like sometimes you gotta chill as a fan base. And there's some people I saw that want to take down his All-American banner in the practice facility, and I'm interested to know your guys' take on this. But like I don't see why it's necessary. I feel like when you look at if the program and the university were to do that, I feel like you know what I mean? It's almost like to a lesser scale when LeBron left and all the Cavs fans burned his jerseys. It's like, come on.
And then they had to rebuy him.
And then they had to buy him again. Exactly.
So like my take on that, I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to ask that question too. My take on that is, what jersey was he wearing when he was named an All-American? That's how I feel.
Purdue, baby.
And so if he wore the Purdue jersey while he was named an All-American, which he did, then it needs to remain. And whatever he decides to do after, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Colts still have references to Peyton Manning in their stadium. I can't say definitively, but the fact that he went to go play for the Broncos and won another Super Bowl there, isn't relevant. Yeah, in my opinion.
Right, but that's a little bit apples and oranges, because he had a double-digit career. He won a Super Bowl with Indy, like set records with Indy,
built a new stadium.
Are you saying Dylan Thieneman's nothing good at like Peyton Manning?
Wow. You should be a politician. That was really good. I want to.
Russ, you might
ride
disagree.
The fence. I'm gonna ride the fence a little bit. I think that with this era of transfer portals and teams, guys playing for 3, 4, 5 different schools in college, I think you should wait until they've graduated to put a banner up. Mm-hmm. Wait till they're done. So if you want to take it down and then put it back up once he's done playing football, because to me it's a little weird, and it's basically saying, I don't know, it's kind of a slap in the face to have, like, now luckily Oregon doesn't play at Purdue, but like, say he played for Oregon and came back and played at Purdue this next year and his banner's up and he's playing against us. That does sit a little funny with me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it is in the practice facility and not anywhere, where fans.
Yeah, it's not like we're hanging these things at Ross 8, but I don't know. I feel
you can argue it either way.
Yeah, no, I see both sides. Like, I get it, but like Frank said, like, you won it in a Purdue uniform. He got the All-American bid while at Purdue. So why erase our history? No, I'm just kidding. But no, I was interested to see your guys' take, and I knew Russ would have a boomer take probably. But
well, the thing that irritates me most about, and not just him, but the situation
about Russ, trust me, I have a laundry list.
Wow.
Dylan.
No, that's not even what I said. Wow, just wait a second.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me making fun of you.
So they've got a 4-star freshman safety coming into Oregon, and they have 3 other safeties in the transfer portal that committed to Oregon. So,
wow.
And that's
plus whatever safeties they already had on the roster.
Yeah.
I want the best for him, and I hope he gets to play. And I wonder if it's about money or if it's about winning, if it's about playing time. I mean, he's realistically a guy that could play at the next level.
So
You know,
it
so if
truly
he
shocked
were to
me.
stay,
It truly shocked me that he went to Oregon because I and all I saw was getting shared was his freshman tape, which good on him, great marketing.
great mark.
Because one thing we didn't want to talk about, we don't like to talk disparagingly about our players and about our coaches. Some of us hung out with Walters longer than anybody else in the fan base. But if you
Oh.
watched his highlight tape from this year, would not look good. Was not good. Missed a ton of one-on-one open field tackles,
And I don't
which is
feel bad.
uncharacteristic, but
I don't feel bad saying that because he said it a lot throughout the season in his interviews. By his own admission, I'm not playing well right now. I'm not playing up to my standard. I mean, but there was a dip. There was a dip in his tackling. There was a dip in his coverage. There was a dip. I mean, in basically every aspect of his game. But where my issue is and where I take a little bit of offense is that he was a 3-star guy coming out of high school, and he came in and started as a true freshman. Not many other schools would he have had the opportunity to do that, and then to take that opportunity that he was given and use that as a springboard to go somewhere else, to a school that wouldn't have even probably given him a look out of high school is, and I get it. I'm not hating the player. I'm hating the game. But that's where it hurts a little bit as a fan. Like it stings.
Hate the game, bro.
Did we recently have an All-American in a certain sport that kind of cited those same reasons as why he stayed at Purdue because of the chance he was given? And
this just
came in as a low-rated recruit.
Yeah, we did.
Kind of blossomed at Purdue and
He's
decided
real tall. Is
I've
that guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was
Canadian.
a hockey player. Yeah.
Canadian, yeah.
Edie. Zach Edie.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was AD.
And spoiler alert, but he's back now. I don't know if you guys have seen him play since he's been
spoiler
back.
alert. Really?
Oh, we're gonna win the Natty this year. Then he's back.
No, he looks. No, yeah, he's back in the NBA. He's back from his sprained ankle, which, oddly enough, there's like a weird conspiracy going on that he wasn't actually hurt that I saw on some Purdue sports Facebook group.
Shocker.
Which I was like, no, I watched the game. He rolled his ankle twice in the same game. Like it definitely happened.
Wait, hold the phone. Breaking news. You read some weird news on a Purdue fan site? What?
Facebook group, yeah.
Dude, I joined a Purdue football Facebook group, whatever, left in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
Here's my recommendation.
So bad.
Dylan, you said something earlier about like trying to your head spinning over all these guys going in the portal, coming out of the portal, recruit commitments, visits, all that stuff. My suggestion, and this is kind of how I take in a lot of the football offseason, is I don't listen to any of that junk. Right, because it's December 17th.
I mean, you get mad when we send portal news into the group chat. So.
Well, it's because every 5 seconds someone's going in and out. So, like, what good is it to like go crazy and every 5 seconds? This guy. Oh, he came back. Oh, that guy went though. Oh, he went over there. Oh, now we're gonna have
nobody on the
roster. Oh my goodness, we're gonna have no football team. Like, it's like, dude, it's December 17th and we're freaking out over what our roster is gonna look like. When, not to mention, we're worried about losing all these dudes, and we were 1-11 this year. With all due respect to all the guys that put their blood and sweat and tears into the program this year, we were 1-11. So, I don't know why we're freaking out over what the team could look like next year after the season we just had, and it's only freaking December.
Listen, these people are Purdue fans aren't the most patient, especially when we see a little bit of success. We're all of a sudden Alabama, and it's very like when we beat Ohio State, kids were chanting, "We want Bama."
So here's my recommendation.
And I remember saying,
channel your energy, go to YouTube and look up 2024 USC football highlights, look up 2023 and 2024 UNLV football highlights, and watch that, right? Have more positive energy. See that's the system that's coming in, and he's going to find players that he's going to build a system around that looks similar to that, but is also built around the players that we get in the building. Don't freak out about every name every 5 seconds that took a visit or goes in the portal or comes back from the portal or
Russ, you're kind of tiptoeing around it, but I'll just ask it directly. To what extent is it necessary to maybe get some of these guys out, just from like maybe a sociological perspective, right?
Ooh, big word.
You wanna to some extent you want to kind of rid that 1-11 mentality out of the locker room. And
A little bit, which
part of it,
I think that's part of what Odom did in his first meeting, right? Like I heard you guys talk about it
yeah,
last week.
I
Him
guess
coming in the
that's what I'm
building and
getting
saying,
to. Yeah.
if you're not going to come ready to work, I saw a great clip the other day online, and it was a guy talking about. I think he's a basketball coach, but he's a college basketball coach, and he was talking about, you know, are you hungry or do you want some food? Are you
Both.
hungry or do you want some food? Because if you want some food, that's the kind of player that's sitting at home and there's food in the kitchen and he wants somebody to come make him a sandwich, right? But if you're hungry, that means you're going to work for it. You're going to go out and find the bread. You're going to find out. You're going to eat a freaking bread mayonnaise sandwich if you got to, because you're so dang hungry. You're going to get in the gym every second you got. You're going to strive and work for everything you get.
That doesn't
If you
sound
just
like
want
fun.
some food, that means you got the talent and you want somebody to cater to you. You want somebody to get, go make me a sandwich and the food's 5 feet from you.
Yep.
So I think that's the mentality he's trying to bring in is like, look, if you're hungry, right? If you were on the team last year and you're hungry, then come on back and let's fix this. If you just want some food, you want a little paycheck or you want a little help or you want this and it's all about me, like, all right, cool, there's the door.
That's why I
But
don't like
is that
shelled peanuts.
mentality? Is that mentality sustainable for
It
recruiting
is.
purposes?
Painter's doing it. And so here's my thought, right? Like I've spent 10, 12 years and Dylan, you've worked in business a lot. Frank, you work in a level where you've managed people as well. When you're in a mindset of you're worried about who you're going to lose, how does the business run?
Not good.
Not good. Not good, Bob. Not good. Right? Like, but when you say, look, these are the standards, this is what we're going to do. If we got to be a little shorthanded at some point, if we got to pick up some slack at some point, then we'll do it. But we're not going to give up the culture based off of 1 or 2 people that didn't like us asking them to do something extra.
Now
And
I
that's
just
what
work
Painter's
with
doing
my
with basketball,
opinion.
right? Like the transfer portal has been around. Like it's bigger. There's a lot more money flying around than there was 3 or 4 years ago. I get that. But Painter just last year, when you watch those graphics of the Final Four and you see all the starting 5 and what schools they started at, and the only guy that wasn't at Purdue was Lance Jones, and everybody else on the bench had started on Purdue as well. Like that's a snapshot of it literally can work and it does work, right? And Coach Odom was talking about not having a great money and not great backing at UNLV. Well, I got news for you. As much as people try to say Purdue's down and out, and people try to ask for a dollar amount, which I think they try to ask Odom for what's the dollar amount of the NAL at Purdue difference from UNLV, and they didn't give it because nobody's going to give it. Everybody's going to act like we don't have enough money. But the bottom line is Purdue is still in the top 30 to 40 programs money wise. And even if we're a little stingy with our money, we're still going to be top 50, which is a team that should compete not only just to be 6-7 win team every year, but also compete to, if we have a good schedule, possibly go 9 wins, 8-9 wins. And I just, I'm just saying, like, I think that the culture can definitely be built around, we're going to do it our way. If you don't like it, there's the door, and you can still be successful. Because if you tiptoe and you're on eggshells and you're afraid what you're going to ask for people, I think you can end up with what we had last year, and it's a 1-11 year.
Yeah. I appreciate what Painter's done. I just, every year I get nervous, and when I see teams that lose 4, 5, 6 players basketball in the portal, and just wonder, is that time coming for Purdue? I mean, you're seeing it happen with volleyball right now. What, 4 players in the portal already? Less than just within a few days of losing. So I there's something to be said for falling back on the fact that Painter wins too. I think that helps a lot. Everything seems good when you're winning too.
Speaking of, folks, please don't DM me asking for inside information. I don't know anything, and I don't want to know anything. And I had like a shocking amount of DMs, like a weird amount of DMs. What's wrong with volleyball? What's wrong with? I don't know. Like, I have
at Dylan
no clue.
KUHN _ on Twitter.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Russell.
For those of you listening audio, he's winking right now, so he's
no, I'm not boiler burner.
To DM him. I do want to address Cody's comment, which you've had on the screen for
Cody. Good to see you, bro.
Cody, appreciate you being in. But there's a comment here and a question. We've talked about it a little bit, but let's directly address this. How do we feel about all the studs hitting the portal?
Well, I haven't hit the portal yet, and I'm a stud, so
I feel like we kind of touched on that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, but like
at the end of the day, there's studs on a 1-11 team. And you look at guys last year that we were worried about losing, right? Like Scorton, Burks, Garrett Miller.
Scorton's a top 10 pick.
So.
Okay, he's a top 10 pick, but did he have a great year this year?
He didn't, right? Comparatively.
What did A&M as a team do compared to their expectations as well, right? Like, with 3 or 4 weeks left in the season, A&M could have been in the playoff or could have won the SEC, right? But
one could argue George Karlaftis didn't have a great junior year either. He was doubled a lot though, but productivity wise, it was down.
Yeah.
But I
Yanni
mean,
hit
I
the
think
portal
he's
too, didn't he?
still a top 10 pick. What was that, Dylan?
Didn't Yanni hit the portal?
Yanni hit the portal, yeah. So I'm scrolling through the portal now, looking at some of the names, and I think about who
right too, because
stings the most.
I don't think any On3 rivals 24/7 is going to give you an accurate portal right now because
Yeah,
it's just
that's
so
true.
insane.
Yeah, I'm looking
Because
at 0-3 right now. Though.
when we talked about Henson, I was looking up some guys from last year, and Woody Marks was obviously their leading rusher, but he's a senior.
Yeah,
He's moving on. But their second leading rusher, Quentin Joyner, averaged over 7 yards a carry, was a freshman last year.
yeah. I
So
mean, he didn't.
he is in the portal. I don't think he's listed as visiting Purdue yet, but obviously
Not a whole lot of touches for him though, but still though, 7 yards per carry is good.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But who stings the worst here? Dylan, I know your answer, your favorite player, Botros Alessandro. So I know he's a guy you're very
Such a
fond of.
fan. I can't pronounce his name. What's
Not
that?
as big a fan of him as
Bosos?
he is.
Hold on. Let me try. Bosos Alejandros.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Brother, look at
Nailed it.
me.
Let's see.
How do
Brooks
we feel about
Martheiser.
Jamal Edrin? Let's talk about him. How do you feel about Jamal Edrin?
Edrin, the way he physically looks like he should be catching 100 yards every game. And then he had that massive drop against IU, which made me want to cry.
Michigan State, I think.
Michigan State. That's what I said. And
it's hard to get mad about that because he had the craziest catch of his career, like 2 plays before that.
True. But like he's
physically, I go Des Bryant light then, basically is what you're saying.
Also, Marcos Davila that took a picture. Davila met with Des Bryant today, so that's interesting.
Doesn't matter how you say his name now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's hope he comes back. I've seen him. I DM'd him and I was like, "Hey, would love to see you come back." Anyway, he follows me on Instagram. Not a big deal. Anyway, no, Edrin looks like a dude that like could outpower grown NFL players, like grown men. And the fact he didn't really show that physicality this year, which really bums you out because he looks like an absolute machine physically.
Yeah, he's listed as a 4-star transfer too. Which
how tall is he?
6'3", 215.
Okay.
It's on my screen. I don't know that off the top of my head. So
I was about to say, well, I wouldn't surprise me if you did. But yeah, so like 6'3", 215 for a wide receiver, that's legit. Like that's awesome. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who gives them looks in the portal and who may offer them. And that's what I find, like guys that do hit the portal, I really find it interesting to see who offers them and like compare those schools with Purdue and kind of be like, well, okay, where do
how
we
many
stand?
Quarterbacks and receivers have we seen in recent years that we're like, oh man, he had some potential. I wish he could have stayed around, and then they commit to Marshall,
or
Tulane, or like it's like.
I mean,
what?
And then there's Deion Burks who went to Oklahoma and didn't have a great season.
Did you see that video?
He did have a good season. He got injury shortened. So
he was injured. Yeah,
his
video was interesting.
He played like 5 games, and he was still their leading receiver, I think, in receptions and touchdowns.
That number or that video of him changing numbers from 6 to 4 was pretty interesting.
A little weird. Yeah.
But here's a gripe. I'm going to make a little gripe.
Here we go.
I cannot wait until the link between Jeff Brom and current Purdue players is gone.
Yep.
Because Mohamed Musa is already committed to U of L. No shock there. And it looks like Max Clare is going there as well.
That's the one. So you had said that's the one that hurts me the most, probably.
Yeah, that bugs me.
Even though we did have a 1-11 season as a tight end, he had double the receptions, yards, and touchdowns of any pass catcher on our team. So any receiver, any running back, any other tight end, he was the dude last year as far as our passing game is concerned.
And Tavion Galloway, he's in the portal.
Well,
so
not much to miss there. But CJ Smith, nothing. We've heard nothing from him. He showed a lot of upside. Didn't play a lot last season. And then the other CJ is another guy I'm excited about. Really hope he stays. CJ Madden.
Denylin Morissette,
also relation.
Denylin Morissette.
Shamar Rigby,
as far as we know, is still around.
I have not hit the portal.
Dylan has not hit the portal. It's weird, man. These posts where these guys are saying they're not going in the portal is kind of weird to me.
Yeah, why do you need to announce that you're not going in the portal?
Well, because none of the websites are accurate, so I kind of get it a little bit because, like, you know.
But the other news is Cole Brevard, since we last met, Cole Brevard went to the portal. He did commit to Texas pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, it was very, very quick. So he will have 1 year of eligibility left for Texas. We'll see. We'll be following his career and wish the best for him. The one final answer, the one I'm going to miss the most is Keelan Crimmins. I'm going to miss him a lot. And I hope we can get him back.
I hope we don't miss him very much.
Good point.
I'm going to be honest.
Inevitably, we will punt. And when we do, we want to be able to do it well.
Yeah.
Is that the Aussie?
He is from Australia.
Yeah. See, you got to have in college football now. You have to have an Australian punter.
I was going to say that's low hanging fruit. Dylan's trying to look smart, but we all know like 80% of the punters in college football are Aussie now.
Listen, that is not true. That if there was a percentage, I'm sure maybe like 30 to 40 would be my guess.
Which is still Nick, a decent chunk for like a whole nother country across an ocean having.
Yeah, does Australia exist? Can we talk about that? Like, have any of you been to Australia?
I'm planning on going there, not next year, the year after.
I'm surprised,
so I'll let you know.
I'm surprised you haven't been there because you take your private jet everywhere. Soil.
Well, since the cat's out of the bag kind of now, Dylan is a flat earther for all our listeners out there.
I am. It's flat as can be. It's flat
Nick's
as Russ's brain.
Nick says, "What's up, fellas?" Nick would love to know what you think about the offensive coordinator hire. You always have great football takes.
Australia's fake news.
Well, do you guys want to jump to a couple minutes of commercials, and then we can switch sports?
Ladies and gentlemen,
wait, look at our listeners. Dylan, look at our listeners real quick.
What about them?
Oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can't see the number.
No, I can't.
It's very nice.
We currently have.
It's 69 listeners. Very nice. Thank you. So all of you 69 beautiful people, we're going to take a little commercial break where you can learn about the people that keep this train rolling. Even though it may be off the rails once in a while, we need folks like these next few groups of people, beautiful people, to keep us rolling. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful voices of Frank and myself.
We shall return in 2 minutes.
Tell me, do you like to be fashionable? Do you like to look handsome or beautiful? Do you like being the best dressed Purdue fan you know? Well, guess what? We got just the place for you. It's called martinvintage.com. And if you go there, you will find the best in Purdue throwback designs on the market. I'm telling you, if you want it, they got it. Basketball, football, Purdue Pete logos, anything and everything. And if you go to martinvintage.com and use code BXP at checkout, they'll throw you 10% off your order. Now, that's a great deal if you ask me. Tell them that we sent you, and they'll say, hey, you have slightly above average taste in podcasts. Here's 10% because they're friends of the program, and we can't thank them enough. Again, martinvintage.com. Use code BXP at checkout for 10% off. Boiler up.
Attention all college basketball enthusiasts. Are you tired of just watching the game and ready to dive deeper into the stats and strategies that make college basketball so thrilling? Introducing CBBAnalytics.com, your ultimate destination for college basketball analytics. With CBBAnalytics.com, you'll have access to the stats and insights that you need to take your love for the game to the next level. From shooting percentages to player efficiency ratings, CBBAnalytics.com has it all. Get detailed player profiles, in-depth team analysis, player and team shot charts, and even in-game trends available all at your fingertips. Do you want to know how well Purdue shoots above the break threes with 10 or fewer seconds left on the shot clock? CBB Analytics has you covered. You want to see how different lineups perform in different situations? CBBAnalytics.com has you covered. You can get a free tier subscription, which allows you to see stats for just one team, but if you truly want to elevate your game knowledge, be sure to check out the Pro Tier subscription, which allows access to all 362 Division I teams. One of our favorite features is the in-game streaming system, which displays real-time stats, analytics, and even shot charts during live games. If you're ready to expand your basketball knowledge, check out cbbanalytics.com today.
I love that during both those ads, Nick's comment saying Australia is a myth. What was up? Hey, Eric, good to see you. Spelled my name wrong, but good to see you too. But yes, those are our beautiful sponsors. Martin Vintage, you can use code BXP at checkout for 10% off. And then, of course, the beautiful and big-brained people at CBB Analytics alongside Cincy Blitzboards, who are wonderful people who make wonderful games. Any team you can imagine, whether it's your fantasy team or really anything and anywhere, any team, any logo, any company, any what. If you want to put my face on it, it's going to charge you extra, but you can even do that. But why would you want to do that? Anyway, Cincy Blitz boards is also in there. We just haven't made one yet. And I also need to update CBB Analytics because our old logo's on there. And so, I'm not doing my job. So that sucks. Anyway, it's good seeing Nick brings up a good point. He says, I'm intrigued. I think it's kind of a splash higher. People are going to think USC and their success. They've struggled the last year or so for the standards. Purdue is an easy landing spot for him. He wins 4 games. Year 1, he looks like a godsend. He wins less than 9 games there. Their season was kind of considered a failure. Good reading by me.
It's a good point. So we played basketball this past weekend against Texas A&M in Indianapolis. Did you guys know that?
Little round ball.
I heard we had a man in the streets and a man in the game and a man.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Nailed it.
One of the things I thought was interesting about being there, it was probably the most tame Purdue basketball atmosphere I've ever attended in person.
Well, that's not good. And
I think it was every time the crowd got going, Texas A&M did something to just kill it. There was that Fletcher had that steal for a lay-in, the crowd got going. Then we stopped him, the crowd got going. Missed a basket, he came down. Wade Taylor drains a 3 with Miles Colvin right in his face, and just boom, everyone sits down. I mean, so in terms of a Purdue atmosphere, like it's the 3rd Indy Classic I've been to. It's probably the most tame, and I don't really recall a game at Mackey being that just silent. So that was kind of disappointing. But in terms of what we saw on the court, what do you guys think? People seem to be, there kind of seems to be 2 schools of thought. People seem to be like panicking, we have to right the ship. And then people seem to be like, we're supposed to have a down year anyway, so it's par for the course. What do you guys think?
So I talked about it a little bit in our chat. I think Purdue is kind of at the level that Michigan State was 10, 15 years ago, in that, we're going to play a very competitive non-conference schedule. We're going to lose some games that we wish we could have won, but we're going to win some pretty decent resume building games. And the whole while we're going to be just working on, every kind of combination. We run, it's been said time and time again, and they talked about it this weekend, that hardly anybody in college basketball runs more sets than Painter. So when you have that many sets and you have this many guys that are new to the program, or you lose a guy like Zach Edey, a lot of your season, it's like, it almost feels like it's still an extension of that secret scrimmage, or what used to be the secret scrimmage, in that we're just, we're trying different lineups, we're trying different sets. Braden, I've talked to you, Frank, before, that Braden seems like he's trying to like throw a pass almost like an NFL quarterback would throw a pass, where he's just trying to lead the guy, thinking about 2 steps ahead of where the guy's going to end up being, and it ends up in some kind of sloppy turnovers or bad passes. But, I think we've seen in stretches that this team has still been as good as anybody else in the country in stretches this year. We just keep trying different combinations, and I think it's fine. Like, the sky is not falling. We've gone 1-1 in our first 2 Big Ten games, like, for the last 5 years now, and in case you haven't been around, we've won the Big Ten like 2 of those previous 4 years. So, and they were by 3 games. So
true.
So like, I don't understand why. And check out the Big Ten Huddle this Thursday night. I'm going to go on there and defend us too, if you want to see somebody defend Purdue. But I don't understand why in basketball, like in football, we prop up Oregon, we prop up Ohio State, we prop up Michigan State, because they're the brand carriers for the Big Ten football, right? But in basketball, it feels like the last decade, even though you go back the last, 10 years, Purdue's won the Big Ten half of those years, but everybody's trying to prey on Purdue, and every little
go back exactly 1,682 days.
Wow.
Underwood has the most wins.
Yeah.
Anymore, it's not the case.
How many times has he won Coach of the Year, though? Oh, never. Okay. All right.
How many times has he got out of the first weekend?
Yeah. Well, once. He just got last year. And if they didn't play UConn, they would have totally won the championship last year.
The furthest Brad Underwood has ever made it is the place that Painter has been to 6 of the last 8. So
break out the water guns.
Got the super soakers. Let's go.
Put that in perspective. Yeah. But this is a Purdue podcast. I'm going to talk about Illinois for a second. I just think it's crazy that like the argument from a lot of not even Illinois fans, just people in general is, well, they played Tennessee down to the end. They played Tennessee down to the end, therefore they should get ranked. They should move up. And I just think that's so silly because yeah, they played Tennessee to the end, but like Tennessee's whole team was in foul trouble. Their best scorer fouled out, and they just gave them an easy layup at the very end. Like a good team would have won that game. Given all that, a good team would have won that game by 20. So that's how I feel. Sorry, don't like Illinois, but Texas A&M and Purdue. To me, like obviously 18 turnovers is bad, but to me this game comes down to missing shots. So according to Synergy, Purdue was 2 for 11 on uncontested open threes. I mean, you look at the box score. Miles Colvin was 1 for 6 from 3. Cam Heide was 1 for 3. Neither of those guys took a shot that wasn't in rhythm, open, and they just didn't fall. And that 7-minute stretch where Purdue didn't score a point, I just think a lot of that had to do with missing open threes. And in person and in real time, it felt a lot worse than it was. When I went back and rewatched the game, it was like, oh, we just missed a wide open three. Oh, missed another wide open three. Oh, missed another wide open three. They doubled the post, forced someone else, besides Trakoff and Ren to beat us, and just no one stepped up. And that's just going to happen in basketball. But I think that Texas A&M shot much better than what we've seen this season. Guys who aren't good three-point shooters hit shots, and that's just going to happen. I mean, that's just going to happen. But I think that if the two teams played 100 times, Purdue probably wins 70 of them. Just based on the game plan we had and from what we saw on the court. But I'm not concerned. I heard some things at the game like, oh, we'll be lucky if we make the tournament, things like that from Purdue fans. Had a fascinating conversation with some of the people around me about how Purdue players don't actually know how to play basketball. They've just gotten so used to throwing the ball to Zach Edey, which was an interesting take. I've heard that from outside fans, not from Purdue fans, but yeah, I'm not concerned at all. I'm feeling good. And I think, the fact that Purdue was able to make a run there at the end, when things really mattered, and cut, I think they led by 7. Texas A&M led by 7 with a minute to go and ended up losing by 4. But yeah, I'm feeling fine. CJ Cox just continues to impress me. 2 for 3 from 3, 10 points, and just a very quiet 10 points too. But to have, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's, like I said, that's what astonished me about the power rankings. When you see people out there ranking Purdue the 6th, 7th, 8th best team in the Big Ten right now, when our three losses are to a top 10 Marquette team, a borderline top 10 Texas A&M team, which Marquette was on the road, A&M's a neutral site, quote unquote neutral site. Obviously, we had more fans, but like you said, it wasn't a Mackey style environment, it wasn't a rowdy environment. And then a road loss in the Big Ten to Penn State, which, just off the top of your head, guys, 36 Big Ten games have been played. You know how many times the road team has won out of 36?
8.
5.
Okay.
5 of them.
And that was me guessing low.
Newsflash, it's hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. But Purdue's losses, again, are to 2 ranked teams, one a road game, one a neutral site, and then a road Big Ten game. But somehow the sky's falling. We're going to miss the tournament. Our shot at the Big Ten is out the window.
And I'm not making excuses here, but this isn't your typical Penn State team. They're 32nd in KenPom. I mean, so just to put that into perspective here, I mean, they're ranked higher than Arkansas. They're ranked higher than Creighton. They're ranked higher than SMU. They're ranked higher than Indiana. I mean, so there's a lot of, if we lost to any one of those teams, it wouldn't feel nearly as bad. But because it's Penn State, because historically we associate that name with not being a great team, as historically they haven't been, this is not your Penn State team. And also, I think Purdue has played some of the best defenses in the country too. Penn State falls into that. Texas A&M falls into that. Maryland falls into that. Ole Miss falls into that. So a lot of this ugliness we see isn't Purdue. I don't want to say Purdue's fault, but a lot of that has to do with the opponent and not.
Yeah, it's almost like everybody is having this contagious AP poll mindset, right? Which is the only thing that matters is wins and losses. And you look at UCLA and, oh my goodness, they're 9-1. Okay, well, their losses to New Mexico. Right? Like, oh, Michigan State's they're back. They're 9-2. Oh my goodness. like, okay, but they lost to Memphis. You know, like,
Memphis is good though.
so okay, but like I'm just, but it's
Yeah,
just it's
I'm with you,
their
though.
what their one good win is North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got wins against Alabama and Ole Miss. So
Frank, is Penny Hardaway still at Memphis?
As far as I know, let's make sure he is. Yeah.
Well, I thought so.
Yeah. Dylan, what'd you think about what you saw from the Boilers against Texas A&M this past week?
just
this past
FYI too,
weekend?
Memphis lost to Arkansas State this year. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I mean it definitely wasn't a pretty game. Had a lot of flaws, missed threes, free throws. TKR again seemed to get maybe a little frustrated. It seemed like, and you hate to see it. He, hopefully, gets some work on just staying a little level headed. Which you love to see compassion from the guy when he's not performing. Like you don't want to see him be okay with being frustrated. You want him to get a little pissed off, but he's got to take a deep breath, keep rolling. But no, it's tough, man. Like it's, I think coming off a year like last year where, it was, I don't want to say smooth sailing, but it weren't rough seas, weren't really part big time of it. So I don't know. It's going to be tough, and fans just got to realize like this is one of those years where they're not going to go undefeated. I mean, and you just kind of go roll with the growing pains.
Yeah,
I think we're seeing that across college basketball as a whole right now, where teams are scheduling just brutal non-conference schedules. I mean, and that's
some teams. There's a team down south that didn't quite do that.
Well, that team down south is has a certain coach who may or may not be in the hot seat. So yeah. I mean, and you look at a team down south, and you look at every KenPom top 60 team they've played, they've lost to. It's not looking great.
Who could we possibly be talking about?
I mean, don't pick on Evansville. Wait, Scott, surely you're talking about like Evansville or USI or something, right?
USI.
Yeah, Butler. Yeah.
Shout out to the Bow Dogs. What's up, Noodle? Where's everyone at? Well, Chris has these things called children, and Damon.
We aren't good enough.
Yeah. What the heck, Noodle?
Wow.
Like, good to know that we aren't enough. Noodle.
We put so much in it.
Yeah.
Love you, Noodle.
Specifically Braden's performance. What do you guys think about? So Braden's box score, I'll pull it up here. It's on my screen. It's just got to find the right tab. 15.6 assists, 6 total rebounds. He had 4 steals, 2 blocks, 2 big blocks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He did have 6 turnovers though.
Awesome.
I felt like in the first half, Braden did a really good job of just saying like, all right, like I'm just going to put this team on my back right now and scoring. But in the second half, things got a little sloppy. He seemed to get a little frustrated. He seemed to let the defense affect him. But what was your all's take? What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm going to piggyback on what Dylan said a little bit. And I think that, Trey Kaufman-Rent's coming off a year that he also knew he was like ready to break out, right? Like you're behind the two-time national player of the year 2 years in a row, and you finally your junior year, you're going to be, and he's proven that he's kind of the go-to scorer for us, right? Our leading scorer, and he's a guy that he's at like 18 something points a game. He could easily average 20 plus or more a game, but like I said before, we're still trying to work some things out. We're trying to figure out our lineups. We're trying to figure out, do we need Kaufman-Rent at the 4 more often or the 5 more often? Like, how does that work out? And Braden's still trying to, I imagine Painter's in his ear about try this concept, try this, or not just, Painter, but, PJ and Sasha and guys like that, they're on the bench. But, I think Braden is definitely trying a little bit harder, but I don't think it's freshman year Braden where he's just like pushing really hard. He's got this chip on his shoulder. He's trying to prove people wrong. It's more like he's just like, hey, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. And he's getting his bag built up so that we can, like I said, be that team like a Michigan State or like even those blue bloods like a North Carolina or a Duke, where even if they rack up 4, 5, 6 losses, they get in the tournament and we're a 4, 5, 6 seed. People are still going, yeah, but watch that Purdue team because they've got, a guy that could have been or was the Big Ten Player of the Year in Braden Smith, and they got a guy at TKR that can drop 20 to 25 a night, and guy named Fletcher Laurie that can drop it in. We got Cam Heidi. Miles, like we're still stacked. We still got a ton of options. We're just trying to figure out how it works together. It's not like, the COVID year team where we don't have a true point guard, and what's this guy's role and this guy's role, and we just kind of run around like chickens with their head cut off with some talent on the floor, but not the stacked talent like we have on this year's team.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's if water finds its level in this game, Purdue wins. Purdue wins easily, because Purdue did not give Texas A&M a reason to change up their defense. They doubled the post. And one thing that was interesting, I don't know if you could tell on the TV broadcast, but a lot of the passes out of the post, because there's a lot of times where we got it in the post, dude drew the double team, Trey Kaufman ran passed it out. But a lot of those passes were like at guys' feet, at their ankles. So like it's hard to go right into a shot from that.
He also had a lot of kickouts. Man, I can't talk tonight. It's been a while, guys. Sorry.
You okay?
He also kicked it out a lot because he thought the double was coming and it never actually came. So I feel like he was, kind of hearing footsteps a lot. And
one guy, two things on the people around me and the conversations I had. So one thing we saw in that game when Braden got hurt in the first half, we got to see a seldom used rule in college basketball, and that if the player who is fouled is injured to the point where they can't shoot free throws, the opposing team gets to pick who shoots those free throws, which is a fascinating rule. And the people around me swore that I was wrong when I was saying that. I'm like, no, if Braden can't shoot free throws right now,
and shame on you. If you think Frank's wrong about something, look in the
well, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
They didn't know that.
Like,
yeah.
Okay,
they didn't
but
know
you
that
have
I'm
this aura about you. They should,
genius.
come on now. They should know.
We call him
Frank
Big
Presence.
Brain for a reason.
So they pick, and to your point, they pick 63% Trey Kaufman, and he drains both of them.
Who comes in and drains both of them. Yeah, so poetic justice there. But the announcer at the stadium said the opposition selects the free throw shooter, Trey Kaufman, ran at the line. And I said, thank you. Like, it's a real thing. Because
Frank stood up with his middle finger in the air and said, I told you all.
And Frank dumped the beer on the guy's head and was like, don't you ever.
Got in a fight. We had to go bail him out. It was the whole thing.
Once when I had season tickets and I went to a season ticket holder event, and there were these open kind of Q&As with Painter. He said that before every game, he always has it written down, which that's probably not today. This was 12 years ago, but he always wants to know who the other team's worst free throw shooter is in case he finds himself in that situation.
Huh.
So he always just writes down the guy's name.
Dylan, are you familiar with Parks and Rec, the show Parks and Rec?
Oh, yeah.
So we need to get Frank a shirt that is that scene where Ron Swanson's in like Lowe's and the guy comes up to help him and he's like, I know more than you.
That's
we're
like
gonna get that screenshot, put Frank's head on there with like a Purdue jersey, and it's gonna be like, don't talk to me about Purdue sports. I know more than you.
Don't talk to me
about the rules. I know more than you. Don't talk to me about stats. I know more than you.
I know things. I know more than you. That reminds me, I went to an Ace Hardware a few weeks ago and the kid couldn't run the paint machine, so I just mixed my own paint. Like, that's Frank at a basketball game.
Dylan.
When somebody quit, I was like, dude, I got it. Don't worry. Like, go take a break. Give me
I would have no idea how to do that. I wouldn't know how to mix my
I'm shocked I remember. Like, it's been 2 years now, and I remembered all of the little codes and buttons.
Russ, you ever mixed your own paint before?
So, Dylan, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
How much I effed up here.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Lowe's the other day. My wife was painting. My wife was painting a dresser, and she sent me a link for the paint that she wanted for the dresser. Which, I don't do a lot of painting. I don't get a lot of paint. I don't pick paints out. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's just do blue. And there's like little, there's 5 million shades of blue, and there's 5 million different types of paint you can get in those blues.
Uh-huh.
So I literally was like, okay, send me exactly what paint I'm supposed to be picking up. And so she sends me this link for the Lowe's website, and I click on it, and I go up and I say, this is what we want. Well, then, like, as they're mixing it, I look back at the text from my wife, and I'm like, wait, that's not what I just handed them. This doesn't make any sense. So the Lowe's website, for some reason, you build your paint, right? And then you send the link to somebody, and it will say, like, let's say it'll say Sherwin-Williams, furniture and cabinet, this, whatever. And it's like kind of a standard middle line paint, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, when you click on the link, it automatically changes you to like their highest priced paint that they have in the building. And even if you selected like a quart of paint, it's going to up it to a gallon.
Yep. And
so I realized that that's what happened. And I went up and I was like, hey, man, like, I'm sorry. It's actually supposed to be this tiny can of paint, not that big gallon that you're mixing. And he was like all ticked to me. And I was like trying to explain to him, like, dude, it's your website that's messed up because the link clearly says it's this can. But when you click on it, you try to upsell me this other can that's not the right paint. So, anyways, that's a
And
random.
that, ladies and gentlemen, lesson learned is why you shop at Ace Hardware. Check out your local Ace Hardware. Not a paid
Helpful
sponsor.
hardware, folks.
I just love Ace. They treated my family great for 40 years. I don't even have any connection with them anymore besides wearing the old hoodies I love. Anyway, Ace Hardware is the best. That's why Lowe's stinks, Menard stinks. What's the other one? Home Depot stinks. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folk. And I will have that burned into my brain forever because I've heard it for the last 28 years.
Do they
But
have a
yeah,
military
no.
discount? Because that's why I always go to Lowe's, is they have a military discount. But
Yeah, I mean, I always did when I had my store. Because I'd have Civil War vets like yourself. And they'd be like, I like a discount. And I'd be like, you got it, buddy. Did you fight with the Russ Johnson? Oh, I fought with old Russ Johnson. He could shoot a cannon as far as the bird could fly. And I'd be like, impressive. Thank you. He goes, that man is a legend within the Civil War streets. And then he died right there. And I was like, man, that's terrible. So good to see you still going, Rusty.
I try.
I honestly didn't expect this tonight, guys. So we would.
Yeah, the fact
about
we're
paint
ending
so
the
much.
we're ending the podcast on paint talk, not Matt Painter,
Not Painter, yeah. No, yeah.
just general paint.
Not
You
points in
don't-
the paint.
I want
Not points in
to
the
ask
paint.
about the Noodles comment here. I want to get your all's take on this really quick. This is an interesting suggestion. The suggestion here is they ought to let the team with the possession arrow pick the free throw shooter.
I like it.
I can't think of a better solution.
I think that the team that gets fouled should pick the free throw shooter. You fouled him, right? Like you committed the offense, and now the guy's injured and has to go out of the game.
Be reasonable,
Can you
Russ.
imagine if in football there's a late hit on the quarterback and he got injured, had to come out of the game, and they're like, the other team now gets to pick who comes in the quarterback for the next play? Like that's ridiculous. Like you
I'd be like,
committed
buddy,
a
and
personal foul, you hurt the guy, he's out of the game, and now you get the
starting
pick
right
who
tackle,
controls
he's
the
the
freaking
quarterback.
football. That's
center.
stupid. It's stupid.
The punter is the quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's ridiculous. You'd be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. But in basketball, we're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Can I be
Yeah,
honest?
it's only fair.
If the other team got to pick the backup, would be kind of electric, and I would think it'd be electric until it happened to Purdue, and then I'd hate it. But
So you know, I heard something interesting the other day that you guys, I know you're familiar with Jameis Winston and some pro football out there and how electric he's been recently. Someone said all the standalone games in the NFL, right? Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, Jameis Winston should be the backup quarterback for both teams. Like sometimes you have an emergency goalie in the smaller hockey league that like could play for either team or something, whatever.
that happens in the NHL.
Yeah, that should be how you do some NFL games. Like
I
the
love
same
I agree
guy
with that.
is the backup because look at how bad the backups get for some of these teams in the NFL. Like Jameis Winston, he might throw pick six after pick six, but like, and someone goes, dude, what if both quarterbacks get injured? Dude, Jameis Winston, all-time quarterback. Can you imagine that? Just don't pick six for this team, pick six for this team, like, and then get interviewed at halftime asking how both the teams are doing. Like, dude, it'd be awesome.
He's the epitome of throwing for 500 yards and losing. Like it's like his entire career. But
he had a clip of him mic'd up with his last game with the Browns a few weeks ago, and I love that guy. I think Jameis is the man. He's the man.
He is.
Well, let's wrap and let's touch on Auburn really quickly.
Does that
Purdue
answer
plays
your question,
Auburn.
Noodle? So there, anyways.
Yes, yeah. I think the Noodle got his question answered. Yeah, and I think part of the reason why losing to Texas A&M stung a little bit more than normal is that A, we don't play again for another week. B, the team that we play is Auburn, who, in my opinion, is the best team in the country. Top to bottom, I think they're the best team in the country. I think Tennessee may have the best starting five. Auburn has likely the National Player of the Year. They have 5 guys averaging double figures and one guy averaging 20, Janai Broom. I think that Auburn is an extremely quick team. They're an extremely versatile team. They run a lot of actions where they bring 2 guys together and then they separate. So you'll see, they'll come together and act like one's going to screen for the other, and they'll just like magnets just separate, or they'll brush screen for one another, and just they get so many open threes off of that action. They're not running nearly as much flex as we've seen in the past, that kind of cross screen, down screen action that Bruce Pearl has loved. And some numbers about Auburn here. I believe they're number 1 in adjusted offensive rating. They're top 10 in adjusted defensive rating. They're a fairly slow team, 66 possessions per game. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams, 35%. What does Purdue do? They play them in the state of Alabama. I'm not sure where it actually is, but it's basically a semi-away game. It's in Birmingham.
It's kind of like what Texas A&M just faced in Indy, basically.
Very, very similar. So it's basically going to be a home game for Auburn. I mean, a lot of people are just going right ahead to chalk this one up as a loss. But where are your all's heads when it comes to this game?
Boilers by 1 billion.
Okay,
I agree.
you think? I mean, realistically, do you think this is a game that Purdue
No,
can
I think
win?
it's a house money game. It's a house money game. They're a really talented team, and I won't read anything into it if we, get crushed by 30. I'll probably get a little hyped up if we beat them by 30. But like they're a team that when you got one of those top teams in the country, if something starts to go wrong for us, like we go 7 minutes like we did against A&M, it's gonna be a lot uglier than being a 4-point loss at the end against Auburn.
And this is a team that just steamrolled Ohio State, 91-53. I mean, just
wild.
Yeah,
absolutely steamrolled a good Ohio State team. I mean, Ohio State's better than their record, but to me, that's when I got a little frightened of this Auburn team.
because
When I
they've
thought
got one loss on their season 3 games ago to Duke, and their 2 games since were granted Richmond and Ohio State, but 98-54 and 91-53. And now they're beating Georgia State 96 or 95 to 59. Sorry, goodness, got it out.
Nailed it.
Georgia State is going to score more on Auburn than Ohio State did.
Clearly, that means they're better than Ohio State.
Make
transitive property.
Heard it here
make
first.
of that what you will. But I feel like this is one of the few games in recent years where Purdue could go in and they could lose by 20, and people would just like, okay. I mean, it's not. I feel like Purdue's been expected to be competitive and or win every game that they're in, and this just isn't the case. And I think a lot of that has to do with this Auburn team just being really, really good.
I will say, you say people will be like, whatever, but I don't think that's completely true. I think that, the Big Ten fans, and especially like, IU, Illinois, Michigan State, whatnot, if we lose by 20 to Auburn, they will jump on this, Purdue's going to barely make the tournament. They're a middle of the pack Big Ten team. Well,
that's just to mask their own pain.
Yeah, I guarantee that's going to happen, and that's just fine with me. Go ahead and sleep on us again, and we'll just see what happens because, yes, Purdue's not going to win the Big Ten every year. Clearly, there's no team that's won the Big Ten outright 3 years. Or sorry, I'm sorry. There's 2 years, 2 teams in history of over 100 years of Big Ten basketball that have won it 3 times in a row outright. So the chances,
I have a three-peat ring right here that I keep on my desk. So
no, there's been 3-peat teams that like share a title. So we could
outright,
one of those.
Okay,
but as far as outright, only 2 teams have done it ever in the history of the Big Ten. So the chances are, you keep betting against Purdue. It's similar to being, you're gonna hate hearing this, right? It's similar to being a Cowboys fan, where everybody's like, oh, the Cowboys are going to get destroyed every week, and even if you win a game, it's like, whatever, wait till next week, and then they finally lose after starting 8-1, and they'll be like,
don't you ever compare?
Oh, I told you.
The Cowboys stink.
So, any of y'all want to guess what the Ken Palm prediction for this game is?
A little better.
Auburn by 8.5.
Billin?
Boilers by 1 billion, but realistically, since
no, Ken, this is Ken Palm. So, what are we guessing that Ken Palm is saying?
I'm gonna do 9.
82-71 Auburn is the Ken Palm prediction.
Nailed it. 11 points. A little bit,
the Vegas lines tend to be very similar. I know for a fact they take these Ken Palm predictions into consideration. So I expect this to be a 10.5 point spread.
I like it.
Do we think it's the scenario? Let's just make it one or the other. Does Purdue cover or not?
Yeah.
If it's what's the line?
Let's say 10.5.
I would bet them to cover, but I'm not going to bet because I don't remember what happened last time. You guys were talking about slam the Purdue money line. I think it was the Penn State game. I forget how that went. So
because you're old and forget.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
that's because I'm trying to be nice, Dylan. Is what I'm trying to do.
I took over on DKR this past weekend. Didn't work out for me. So, and then Chris has a good point here in the comments. We also have post-loss Braden, which for those of you who listen for a while know that's a term that we've coined here. So if you hear it anywhere else, it originated here. But post-loss Braden's a real thing. Every time Purdue loses, Braden just comes out firing. So
he's gonna roll up in that Cybertruck and go bananas.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I would love to see a win. I think it's going to take a little bit of luck and a little bit of variance that falls in Purdue's favor, but we'll see what happens. I trust Painter, trust all the players. Got a lot of faith in this team, and it's going to be a fun game regardless.
Death.
I want to ask one question at the very end for you,
Texas.
Frank, or Dylan
Yeah.
can answer too. But
Matt Payne.
Yeah.
what
Go
do you
ahead,
guys
ask.
think the starting five looks like for Auburn?
Well, I mean, it looks like in terms of what?
Who do you think starts?
Who do I think starts?
You think I
Because
know
was it?
Auburn's
I
roster?
don't know if you guys heard it. I believe it was reported and turned in that First was going to start against A&M, and then
It wasn't. It was.
time,
Wait, I'm sorry. It may have been A&M, but the same thing happened against Maryland, where they said during the broadcast that initially they were told First was starting, and then they changed it last second. So that happened against A&M too.
I'm old. You might be right. It might have been just
Yeah.
Maryland.
So okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant who starts for Auburn. Who do you think
No,
who
for
starts
Purdue.
for Purdue?
Yes, because I
thought
know
the same
one guy
thing,
that's
but I'm not the only one.
controversial is Berg, but Berg has been destroying the on-off numbers for what you can take that because Burgess is second, but Burgess hasn't played the minutes that Berg has.
Don't say that to people who don't like Berg. They'll get really angry. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Berg, Purdue is objectively better when Will Berg plays, despite him.
Oh my God! How dare you say that?
Yeah. So I mean, so we look at Auburn's starting five. Height wise, we have Janai Broom, 6'10". I wouldn't even call him a power forward. I would call him a shooting guard who happens to be 6'10". I mean, in terms of skill set, Chad Baker Mazzara 6'7", Denver Jones 6'4", Miles Kelly 6'6", Chaney Johnson 6'7". I don't think you make any changes to the starting lineup for this one. I think you stick with TKR at the 5, Cam at the 4, Miles, Fletcher, Braden. I wouldn't make any changes for this one. I mean, Janai Broom's a guy who's what's his shot chart look like? Where's he scoring from? You got me going down this.
Do you want to guess
Mostly
off the top of your head how many points he has against Georgia State tonight?
A lot.
Janai Broom? No, I don't know.
So the final score was 100-59. Over under 10 points for Broom.
Under
2 points.
Tough.
How many minutes did he play?
Maybe he got hurt. He played 2 minutes.
I wonder if that's
you're talking crap about the guy.
Possibly some breaking news here.
Hold on. I'm looking.
Accidental breaking news from the Boiler Express podcast.
Janai Broom is in street clothes after getting his shoulder injured on a rebound attempt.
Wow, Russ.
You're welcome.
This is from John Rothstein. John Rothstein, Janai Broom is out for the rest of the game. Now, this could be a scenario where they're playing Georgia State, so they're not going to take any chances. But interesting. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here on the Boiler Express podcast. Janai Broom is now
lucked into a breaking news take here.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
yeah, played 2 minutes and got 2 points. He's averaging 1 point per minute. Russ, you jinxed him.
Yeah, you're right.
Noodle said. So.
Absolutely right.
Well, that throws a wrinkle into a lot of things. So expect that line to. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Hopefully he plays. I want Purdue to beat Auburn if they beat Auburn with their best player. So I want that to happen. But anything else? Any other things to discuss? Questions, comments, controversial statings?
No, Russ is old.
Plenty of those.
It's past his bedtime. But ladies and gentlemen, it was great to be here. It's been a couple weeks since I've been back on the show. Happy to be here. Sorry I had to host. Damon's has like kids or something. I don't know. So does Chris. I don't know. Like Frank and I just have a dog. It's all we need. Anyway, we're happy to be back. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, you never know with us. But on behalf of Russ, the oldest man to ever live, and Frank, the youngest, smartest, and most beautiful member of the Boiler Express podcast, we thank you for listening. And remember, get your dogs spayed or neutered. We love you.
Knowing is half the battle.
Oh, yeah.
That'll go down